For those of you that love SixZero, they've got sapphires, they've got diamonds, and now they have rubies. Stay tuned if you want to hear about the new Kevlar-faced ruby paddle from SixZero. So I've been a fan of SixZero from the very get-go. They have put a lot of energy into their technology, and I just want to say thank you, SixZero, for sending us this paddle. And thank you for those of you that are using our code. That helps us keep the lights on, helps us keep bringing you these great reviews to help you make the best decisions possible for your paddle purchases. Let me jump right into it. Let's get into this paddle and let's talk about the Ruby. First, let's do the specs here. The same exact specs as the Double Black Diamond. We got 16.3 inch length. We got a 5.5 inch handle, 4.25 inch circumference of the handle, and the width here is 7.5 inches to 7.7 inches with a slight taper, just like the original Double Black Diamond. Now the weight on this comes a little bit heavier. It's at 8.2 ounces. I think the original Double Black Diamond's around 8.1 ounces. And the twist weight on this is 6.76. So this is a higher twist weight than the Double Black Diamond. Let's take a beat here and let's talk about what twist weight means. Twist weight refers to what's called torsion stability. And all that means is that the further you hit off center of the paddle and the further towards the edges that you hit, the paddle will be more resistant to twist in your hand. So the higher the twist weight means the stiffer the paddle, the wider the sweet spot typically, and that means that you can hit further on the edge without the paddle twisting in your hands. That's what we call twist weight. The original Double Black Diamond was a 6.59 twist weight. This one's at a 6.79 twist weight. So it has more stability and it widens the sweet spot. And this has a slightly higher swing weight of 117. The Double Black Diamond was 114 as far as the swing weight. And so slightly stiffer paddle. But let's talk about the differences of this Kevlar face compared to the Double Black Diamond and why I think this paddle is going to be really great for those that pick it. I believe this paddle has more power and more pop. Now, once again, this is my feeling. I've played these paddles. I play them side by side, so I'll play the Double Black Diamond, then I'll play the Ruby in the same day, so I could feel the difference of the paddles and feel them, and even hitting them against the wall to feel the difference in the paddles. So this is my opinion based on my experience with all the paddles I've tested and testing these against each other. First off, I gotta say, I like the look of this paddle. I like the red. I think it looks really cool. And in the microscopic view, you can tell that this has a little bit of a different crosshatch on it. And you can see that the abrasion, the abrasiveness of this surface when you look at the microscopic picture here. So this paddle generates more spin. The Double Black Diamond in some of the tests were right around the 2018 mark. And then this guy here, I believe, is going to be higher, maybe in the 2100, 2200. We'll see when the independent testers come out with their numbers. But I was able to generate more spin, more pop, and more power with this paddle without sacrificing the control. I felt like this paddle was still controllable in all areas of the game, just like the Double Black Diamond. Now, I believe, this is my feeling, that this has a little bit more crisp feel to it than the Double Black Diamond. The Double Black Diamond is a great all-around paddle. It is very versatile, a little bit more muted than the feeling of the Ruby. So the ball comes off crisp off of the face of this, a little bit better, a little bit more than the Double Black Diamond in my opinion. But on all of the different shots, when you're in the dink battles, when you're doing things at the kitchen, when you're hitting the soft shots there, this is a very controllable paddle. So it's very crisp, but very controllable. So I did not feel like you're sacrificing any control with a stiffer paddle and with the Kevlar face. This is Kevlar, and it is a different type of material. I'm gonna read a little bit about what Dale says about this so you can understand the difference of this. So Kevlar has a high impact resistance and a durable abrasion material. And so it means that the paddle surface will last a long time. So that's one of the things that they're marketing on this, is that the Kevlar material should last longer than the carbon-faced paddles. So we'll see about that. We're gonna get a little bit of longevity in it. Just to set a level set for everyone, most paddle companies expect to get about 100 hours of play out of their paddles. So however long that takes you to get 100 hours of play, that could be 3 months, that could be 6 months, that could be a year, depending on how often you play. But that's usually around the benchmark that they're thinking about these paddles before they start to degrade, performance starts to degrade, or they expect the materials to degrade just a bit. 100 hours. The other thing that they spent 10 months developing this. So they did not just go and buy this off the shelf. One of the things I love about SixZero is their innovation. They put energy, time, and money into each one of their paddles. They don't just go to the China factory and say, hey, give me that one. Change it up a bit and give me that one. They are putting the money and the time and the energy into their technology so they can bring you the best paddles that they can. And so with this material, because this is 100% aramid, fiber, DuPont Kevlar, the production ability on this was a little bit longer, a little bit harder process for them to figure out how to make this material work correctly with the molding process, with the hot molding. And once again, this is still a Gen 2 paddle. It's still thermoformed. It still has the foam around the edges. It's still sealed all the way around the edges as a unibody. So everything that the double black was, this paddle is, but now it's using the different face material. So let's talk about the different shots in the kitchen. I already talked about being in the kitchen. In no man's land or in resets, I still felt there was tons of control with this paddle. Now, once again, crisper feel. So it's going to feel a little bit different than the double black diamond, at least in my opinion. But I've noticed a difference in the power and the pop. I thought that this had more power and more pop than the double black diamond. We'll have to see what other people say, but this is my opinion. And so it is definitely a better performance paddle, maybe a little bit more for the singles game. Now, the double black diamond kind of turned into an all-round paddle, like an all-court paddle, whereas when the thermoform Gen 2 paddles were still coming out and really people were trying to figure that technology out with the D-Lam problem and all of this, this paddle, the double black diamond was, you know, really just an all-around paddle. It was great. It had a huge sweet spot. This paddle still has a huge sweet spot, but the performance of it is a little bit higher end. So a little bit more towards the performance. So if you are a power player and you want a little bit extra pop and a little bit extra spin, this paddle would be the paddle for you. If you want a little bit more control, a little bit more stability, then maybe the double black diamond would be for you. Really, the only big difference here is we're talking about the face material, which is the Kevlar core, and the way it responds to impact and the way it disperses when impact happens to the face of it. As far as performance-wise, I had no problems with this paddle, man. Resets were great. I love the drives with it, man. The dip that I was able to generate on this on my drives was ridiculous. And I thought that the pop and the put away power when I was at the kitchen was great. So I didn't have any problems with that. We'll see how that ends up. So this paddle is going to be for anyone that wants a little bit more pop, a little bit more power, and loves the double black diamond, loves that body shape, loves this handle shape. And with the 5.5-inch handle, I think it's great. It's still big enough for the two-handed backhand. So for those of you that like the two-y, this is still plenty of room for the two-y. And once again, their handle shape has always been a good handle shape, good bevels on it, so you can feel where you're handling the handle. And just the aesthetics, I love the white frame. I like the look of this paddle. I like the look of the handle. I even don't mind playing with this grip on it. Now, typically, I don't like these grips. I usually put an overgrip on it, but I did not mind this one. But be it that it's white, it's going to get dirty, so I would always recommend either taking this off and put an overgrip on it if you want it a little bit smaller, or you just put an overgrip over this so you don't get it dirty, and that keeps it nice and clean. Great job on this paddle, SixZero. I can't wait to play it more and really enjoy it. The price point on this paddle is $200. With our Pirate discount, you get 10% off, and that makes this paddle only $180. Really good value, only $20 more than the double black diamond for the extra power, pop, and spin. If you want the power and the spin, lean towards the Ruby. If you just like the double black all-around paddle, retails for $180, would be $160 with our discount code for the double black. But I tell you what, I think you got to try the Ruby. You got to get a hit on it. You got to get some swings in with it and see what it feels like. Now, if you don't like this paddle and you want to see some of our other reviews, check these out.